Hello everyone. Today's video is for the students who are going to appear for various competitive exams, and it's also for the students of class 8 to 12. Now this is a very common topic for the competitive exams, sequence of tense. Now the question to this is insert the correct tense of the verbs given. Now there are various rules to be followed in order to insert the correct tense. Now, in a sentence, you see, we have principal clause and a subordinate clause. Now, what is clause? A clause consists of a subject and a predicate. Now, in rule number one, the rule number one says that if in the principal clause we have present or the future. Now, in both clauses, we have verbs. Okay, you see verbs say here, and is a verb. Now, in the principal clause, okay, the tense of the principal clause, if it's in present or in future, then in the subordinate clause, you can use any tense. Like you see, he says, he is ill. It's in present tense, and he will say future, and the subordinate clause is he says that he was ill. Okay, or you can also say that he says that he was ill. Here you can also use was. So you see, if it is present or in future, you can use any tense here. Now rule number 2 says Rama came that he might see me. Now you see, in the principal clause, the tense in the principal clause, if it is in past tense, then you have to use past tense in the subordinate clause also. But there are exceptions. If there is past tense in the principal clause, but if the subordinate clause talks about universal truth, like honesty is the best policy, the sky is blue, the grass is green, these are all universal truth. So if it talks about, the subordinate clause talks about universal truth or a habitual fact, that he says he gets up early in the morning every day, so that's a habitual fact, so that will be in present tense. So even though the principal clause is in the past tense, the subordinate clause will be in present tense if it is a universal truth or a habitual fact. Fine. Now rule number 2, there's a few more points. That is, you see, if it is in the past tense, a great city once stood. Stood is past tense. Now, if the subordinate clause starts with an adverbial clause, adverb clause, you see where is an adverb, and that should be adverb of place, reason, or comparison. You know, if you read the sentence, you can understand its comparison or its reasoning. So that time you need to use any, you can use any tense. And another sentence like this: yesterday I met a man who sold me a hat. Now if the subordinate clause starts with an adjectival clause, then you can use any tense here. Like you see, yesterday I met a man who sold me a hat. You see, sold is the past tense. You can also write yesterday I met a man who will sell me a hat. Okay, yesterday I met a man who sells a hat. You see, any tense you can use if it is adjectival clause, if the subordinate clause starts with an adjectival clause. Okay, now rule number 3 says I work that I may pass. Now work, you see, will work is present tense, will work. Now if the verb, you know, the tense and the principal clause is present tense or future tense, then you should use may, not might. Okay, may. Now if the verb is or the tense here is in the past form, then you will use might. Okay, so this is rule number 3. Now rule number 4 says that if the tense is in future tense, okay, the principal clause is in future tense, then and subordinate clause starts with till or when, until, after, before, then the tense which you can use is either past tense or the present tense, either past or present. So rule number 4 says that if the tense in the principal clause is future, with these words used in the subordinate clause, then you will use either past tense or the present tense. Now, rule number 5 says that in the principal clause, if the word starts with, it has the words like wish, if only, as if, it is time, then the subordinate clause will be in the past form. It will be in past tense. Now, rule number 6 says that if the word since is there in any sentence, then the subordinate clause will be in past tense. Okay. Now, there is another exceptional sentence that Mohan ate more than he usually eats. Now, if the principal clause is in past tense, though the principal clause is in past tense, if the subordinate clause starts with the word than, then the subordinate clause takes up any tense required. I hope you have found this video interesting. Thanks for watching.